The race for the White House is heating up. I know elections are still 17 months away in the United States, but that's America for you. The Republican field is especially crowded. There are daily accusations, a lot of insults, and also some falsehoods. Let me introduce Nikki Haley. She's a US politician of Indian origin, also running for the Republican nomination. And on Monday, she posted this on social media. She says if we want to be serious about saving the environment, we need to confront India and China. They're some of the biggest polluters. Well, in no time, there was backlash. Indian users on Twitter called her out. She was accused of lying about pollution. So let's look at what the reality is. You need to understand that pollution has a time lag. What you emit today affects us years later, maybe 10 or 20 years down the line. This is why experts talk about historical pollution. Don't just look at the current data, also look at the decades before. And what does that data tell us? Since 1850, the US is responsible for 20% of all carbon dioxide emissions. China is second with 11%. Russia is 7% and Brazil 5%. So what about India? India makes up just 3.4% of the total. The rank is 7th. This data tells the real story of pollution. The climate change you see around is because of historical pollution. And who contributed to that? The United States with a 20% share. Let's also look at another data set. Per capita emissions. It's easy for countries with smaller populations to reduce emissions. Less people, less emissions. So let's consider the per capita data. Qatar leads the list with 37 tons of carbon dioxide. That's 37 tons per citizen. What about the United States? The US emits around 15 tons per capita. And India, just 1.9 tons. Imagine that. America's per capita emission is 7 times higher than India's. Yet, Nikki Haley has the audacity to blame India. Even China is better than the US. Their per capita emission is around 7 tons. Most experts also talk about exported emissions. What does that mean? You keep hearing US officials talk about reducing pollution. They do that by exporting manufacturing. Instead of building factories in the US, they build it elsewhere, like in China or Vietnam, even India. One study found that multinational companies make up 20% of all emissions. Also remember that 1/3 of all MNCs are American. Put 2 and 2 together and what do you get? More pollution by the US. What I just explained isn't new information. It's known to policymakers across the world. In fact, it is recognized in international law. We call it CBDR, Common but Differentiated Responsibilities. Means all countries are responsible for tackling environmental destruction. But there's a catch. They are not equally responsible. Historically, bigger polluters like the US must take the lead. They must spend more. Unfortunately, Nikki Haley missed this memo. Looks like her whole party did. Former President Donald Trump did the same thing. In 2020, he accused India of having filthy air. His words, filthy. It's part of a bigger trend in US politics. You blame and preach to India while running for office, but once in the White House, you change the strategy. You realize India is key to America's interests, and Joe Biden is no different. While running for office, he released a policy paper. It criticized India's Citizen Amendment Act, or the CAA. It also talked about the situation in Kashmir. But cut to 2023, he's a different man. On Monday, a White House spokesman was asked about the health of India's democracy. Listen to the response.
India is a vibrant democracy. Anybody that happens to go to New Delhi can see that for themselves. And certainly, I would expect that the strength and health of democratic institutions will be part of the discussion.
India is a vibrant democracy. Not that America's opinion matters, but at least it's not unsolicited criticism. US politicians must learn to keep politics within their borders. Not like they have a shortage of issues. Gun violence, sky-high medicine costs, abortion rights, inflation, these are all issues that affect American citizens. Maybe discuss those next time. Don't turn other countries into your political punching bags.